We're constantly told that love is the ultimate goal, right? That it's the answer to everything. But what happens if we pull back the curtain on all the poetry and look at its clinical reality? Well, that's what we're doing today. We're going to explore love not as some magical feeling, but as what it really is, a high-stakes neurological and social rewiring of who you are.
Right, let's start with what we all know. This is the story we get from pop songs, from movies, from pretty much everywhere. This idea that love is this magical potion that's going to come in and heal all our wounds. It's a beautiful thought, for sure.
But this is where things get complicated. Look at the difference here. On one side, you have the romance novel version, bliss, completion, strength, and on the other, the clinical reality. Psychologists document love as a major stressor, something that can act like an addiction, and can even cause cognitive impairment. It's like we're using two totally different languages to describe the exact same thing.
And this, right here, really gets to the heart of it. If we want to get past that fairy tale narrative, we have to start by admitting that love has a very real psychological price tag. So, let's break down exactly what that price is.
Okay, first up, let's tear down this huge myth, the idea that a partner completes you. You hear it all the time, but from a clinical point of view, this way of thinking can actually be the start of a really serious problem.
Psychologists actually have a name for this. It's called enmeshment. It's this subtle process where your own personal identity, your sense of I, starts to kind of dissolve. It gets absorbed into the relationship, creating this all-powerful we.
And you've probably seen this happen, maybe even felt it. All the things that were once your things, your hobbies, your friends, your big life plans, they suddenly have to be negotiated. They become our things. Your individual autonomy gets put on the back burner for the sake of the couple.
And once you've invested so much of yourself, it can become a real trap. It's a classic psychological bias called the sunk cost fallacy. You might find yourself staying in a relationship that makes you miserable, not because you're happy now, but because you just feel like you put in too much time and emotion to just walk away. Your past investment starts calling the shots for your future.
All right, next up, this idea that love makes us stronger. Clinically speaking, it can actually do the complete opposite. It can open you up to some pretty incredible emotional and, believe it or not, physical vulnerabilities. This is what some call hypervulnerability. Think about it. When you're truly in love, you hand your partner an immense amount of power over your emotional state. If they have a bad day or seem a little distant, your whole sense of self-worth can just crumble.
And it's more than just being a supportive partner. You can actually start absorbing their stress like it's your own. It's a thing called sympathetic distress. All of a sudden, you're carrying the emotional weight of two people, but you still only have the capacity of one. It is absolutely exhausting.
And this stuff has very real physical consequences. Take a look at this chart. It shows what happens to cortisol, your body's main stress hormone, during different kinds of arguments. A disagreement with a friend? Yeah, it's a small spike. A problem at work? A bigger one. But a fight with your romantic partner? Whoa, that response is through the roof. And having those spikes happen over and over again can do serious long-term damage to your health.
So the final myth we're going to bust is the idea that love brings you clarity and focus. According to the neurology, it can do the exact opposite. It can actually mess with your ability to think straight.
Seriously, on a chemical level, a brain in love looks a full lot like a brain on drugs. You get this massive surge of dopamine and oxytocin that creates a super powerful reward loop. And that's exactly why a fight or a breakup can feel like actual physical withdrawal. Your brain is screaming for its next fix.
This intense brain state has a name. It's called limerence. It's basically an obsessive state where thoughts about your partner just constantly invade your mind. And that, right there, is why your ability to focus on your job or on any other complex task can just completely nosedive when you're falling in love.
And this chart really drives the point home. Just look at how your brain power gets redivided. In this model, a whopping 40% of your mental energy is being eaten up by just thinking about your partner. That leaves way less in the tank for your career, your hobbies, and just, getting through the day.
And get this, love literally makes you a worse judge of character. There's a cognitive bias called the halo effect, and it basically shuts down your critical thinking. It's why you might look at your partner's glaring red flags, things a friend would spot in a second, and convince yourself they're just charming quirks.
So when you add all of this up, the loss of self, the emotional chaos, the brain fog, what's the takeaway? What are we really looking at here?
Well, the source material we're looking at frames love not as a feeling, but as a high-risk investment. And like any investment, it has a very clear list of costs. You're trading away personal autonomy, cognitive function, emotional stability, maybe even your time and your friendships.
And that really brings us to the ultimate trade-off, doesn't it? You're being asked to surrender a huge amount of your individual resources, your power, your freedom, your ability to plan rationally, all for a collective promise. A promise of emotional connection that might be amazing, or it might never actually pay off.
And that leaves us with the big, provocative question. Once you strip away all the poetry and look at the cold, hard, clinical data, is love really a logical investment? Now, the point of this isn't to say you should avoid it. Not at all. It's about going in with your eyes wide open to the very real costs. And whether that trade-off is worth it, well, that's something only you can decide.